Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing great. Got a story about the airline industry. We've been covering travel and leisure and how we are starting to see deflation rear its ugly head. This is a great story and I'm going to be able to explain how you're seeing deflation happening right before your eyes, even as you're watching fuel and mortgage rates, home prices in some areas still going up. However, that's starting to change too. Even though you're seeing inflation all over the place, there is deflation, just like I was talking about a few months back. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to link the story below, but we're going to go through it. American Airlines drops 3 U.S. cities and cuts 3 routes in latest network adjustment. Now, it's really interesting that they use the word network adjustment, but I want you to understand that's a marketing thing, and that's them saying things are going bad and we've got to can people and do all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but still about the airlines. I saw a story today. It says, welcome to American Airlines. Today, your pilot will be a rookie from United Airlines. And that's actually happening where they're having such a pilot shortage right now that they are having to have pilots swapping and stuff. Now, you'd think that this would be not the case because it seems like every time we get on a plane, we're getting stuffed in there like sardines, but it's actually because of not only lack of passengers, but flights are down. Like I talked about a couple months back where we saw month over month airline travel drop 26% month over month. That is a massive drop, and that was during spring break, the time frame, which would normally be a very strong travel season. Okay, so we're starting to see that here. So let's dive in and get past all the rhetoric that they try and make it look like this is normal business as usual, but it's not. It says regional airports and small communities continue to shoulder much of the burden as airlines continue to make network adjustments due to ongoing pilot shortage. The latest move comes from American Airlines as it plans to drop 3 small U.S. cities from its route map. The airline will cease to serve ISIP, if I got that right, New York, Ithaca, New York, and Toledo, Ohio, effective September 7th. The news was communicated internally to affected employees and was confirmed by TPG by an airline spokesperson. Again, we're going to go through all of the rhetoric in a second. American's regional affiliate Envoy Air has historically served Toledo's Express Airport from Chicago O'Hare, while regional affiliate Piedmont Airlines has served both the Tompkins International Airport in Ithaca and Long Island MacArthur Airport in Islip from Philadelphia. Flights to all 3 airports were operated by Embraer 145 regional jets. That's the company. All right. So the story goes on to talk about all of these temporary cuts. They're saying temporary, right, with quotes. I want you to understand, for sure it is actually temporary because as economies expand, airline expands, vacation, leisure expands, it gets bigger, the tourism industry balloons, and so airlines balloon out their maps and where they're flying, right? That's totally normal. When it crashes, the opposite happens. We saw this actually similar in the Great Recession where flights, airlines, especially large ones, large carriers like American, weren't necessarily completely shutting down certain airline routes, but they were definitely making them very thin. Where normally you'd have 4 or 5 flights a week, you'd only have 1 or 2, okay? So they'd be pulling back. Now there is a pilot shortage, don't get me wrong. I know this is actually a fresh line. My son is a pilot, a private pilot, and he's around other really great pilots that are in the airline industry. They do talk about it quite frequently. But I want you to understand too, not only is there a pilot shortage, there is a huge shortage of travelers right now. If you've gone to the beach lately, you've gone to any of these hot destination spots. As a matter of fact, I was down in San Diego. Summer started and we were in the super nice shopping district shopping for the day, and it was like a ghost town. And there was 4 of the buildings were completely empty and vacant, So we are seeing that happening. We know because the airlines report these numbers, how many travelers they have, what their ticket sales are, things like that, every quarterly earnings. And we're seeing a serious sharp decline in travel. Now, high fuel prices are only going to exacerbate the problem because not only is jet fuel going up, and we've actually seen some shortages in certain localities, Austin being the most recent one when I was traveling to San Antonio to meet you guys, but fuel, costs are getting so out of control and there's no end in sight because the Federal Reserve is obviously doing nothing, right, to really stomp on this. And the sad thing is as they raise rates slowly, like this paltry sort of, for lack of better terms, rate hike cycle. As inflation gets worse and they don't do enough to stomp on it now, quick, before it hurts too many people, we're seeing people, balloon their credit card debt, and it's not for, going on airplanes, it's for just surviving, right? So it's interesting where these companies, they try and spin it, and they go, these are temporary, it's a network adjustment, we're trying to get through things. They don't want to tell you that there's a problem, because when you start to realize there's a problem, then you're less likely to spend money into that problem, if that makes sense. If you start to learn that people all around the country are pulling back, withdrawing their spending, you start to ask questions like, well, why? What's going on? Is there something I don't know about? They always, dumb people say ignorance is bliss, and that's why they're poor. But honestly, it is to so many people. They'd really rather put their head in the sand until they're forced with the reality that something's wrong. And the thing is the stock market and everybody's 401ks right now are falling off a cliff, and it's expected to do what, 80, 90%, but you don't have to take my advice for it. I'm just a accredited investor, a dude with a bro and a dream. But the billionaires are all talking about it, right? The Billionaires Club are talking about it. All the famous people on Wall Street are saying, yep, expect an 80% haircut in the S&P. But all the while, you've got guys on YouTube saying, buy the dip, score. Good job for the millennials out there doing that. Point being is that these are normal economic cycles. This is just a much larger one. And so this is a sign. I've talked to you about in December and January, we were saying subscription services were going to fall off a cliff. We saw that with Netflix and Disney, Hulu, all those kind of things, right? We're seeing newspapers, they're so out of date anyway. We're seeing them fall off a cliff as well. Now we're seeing it in travel and leisure, okay? And this is yet one more sign, but this is a large carrier, American Airlines. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because I think it's very important. And I just want you guys to keep thinking about, there's a lot of people out there right now that want to get out and live their life, especially as we see crazy stuff in the news. We want to sort of experience life before it gets, let's say, closed down again. But the problem is a lot of people can't afford it. And so should you be throwing a vacation on the credit card? Some people want to live like they're dying. Some people want to live like nobody else because they lived like nobody else today, if you get my drift. So I think this is the time probably you should start working on setting money aside, saving it, unless you have the money, the means to do it, because it is going to get worse going into the summer. Those warnings from the president, the U.S., France, Germany, every leader of the world pretty much is telling you your future in the next 6 months. Maybe it's time to hunker down, set some money aside, and start to look for the real deals. As the people that had their head in the sand, joking around with you, rolling their eyes at you, saying ignorance is bliss, they need to sell you their car because they can't afford it. Or better yet, they're side by side. Or hey, put in the comments section the dream toy that you want to buy, but you'd never buy it right now because it's so expensive, but you'll buy it from the rolling eyes at you neighbor that laughed at you for the last 5 years. Put in the comment section what you guys are going to buy. That's what I want to hear, because that is all about crushing it. Getting what you want at half the price and not being the dorks sitting outside Louis Vuitton waiting for a handbag that you can't afford, but hey, I got a stimulus check. Sorry, the ninja's renting. Let's get out of here. The economic ninja is out.